Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic the Gathering. This time up, we have Vintage from Scholars Games in Brockton, Massachusetts, and Dredge starting out on the play, activating Bazaar of Baghdad. Of course, every opening hand of Dredge, for the most part, is going to need that Bazaar of Baghdad to be competitive with the rest of the format, and Bazaar has dug into Unmask, and that is going to allow some level of disruption here. We've got a Mox Opal, Thoughtcast, Sensei's Top, Hurkyl's Recall, and some mana artifacts on the other side. Looks like Soul Ring, Mox Opal, and perhaps a Proxy. And going to go ahead and hit the Sensei's Top. Proxy, a little difficult to read. It looks like Mishra's Workshop. Into Soul Ring with a pass, perhaps playing those artifacts as well. So lots of mana on board here for Peter, and he's going to need Paradoxical Outcome or something similar here because things are starting to happen very rapidly here for Dredge. Narcomoeba's coming in, Prized Amalgam triggering as well. Looks like a Dread Return being contemplated here. Dread Return has several targets in this deck. The two primary targets are Elesh Norn and Kolgan Dragonlord. Bazaar Baghdad, allowing for more dredging here. Now Bloodghast coming online. The strength of this deck is its inevitability. As you can see, Prized Amalgams also triggering. More and more creatures are just going to be entering the battlefield bit by bit. Even if Peter were to have counter magic to stop cards like Dread Return, eventually these creatures will finish the game. And a 6-card Dredge for the draw step gets Golgari Grave Troll back. Coming in for 9 damage. Those Prized Amalgams, I mean, this is a 1-turn opening for Peter. Has Hurkyl's, look like Spire of Industry. So Cabal Therapy is going to strip that Hurkyl's away, leaving him with just Spire in hand. Prized Amalgams come in, and of course those trigger other Prized Amalgams in the graveyard, making them very, very difficult to actually remove forever. So that's going to get the concession game 1. Peter sees the lethal damage would be coming in shortly. That's going to earn a check mark for Dredge. Of course, game 1, you do expect to win the majority of the time, certainly more than just close to 50-50 in most matchups. I mean, you're talking a very heavily favored game 1 versus most of the field, and that's a big selling point for Dredge, is the ability to consistently win game 1 and then hope to win game 2 and 3 through the hate. It's probably not as bad as it has been in certain years in the past. Dredge a little bit less high profile just because of how good workshops are, so that tends to distract from the status of Dredge. Usually people can only find enough hate in their heart for one archetype to really be upset enough about to have tons of sideboard cards against. And Dredge is kind of eased out of that position with just how good workshops are in spite of all the restrictions. Apparently reusable Black Lotuses are good just about no matter what you're casting with them. Cards like Foundry Inspector. But here Peter is on a very broken deck with Paradoxical Outcome as well, so being on the play, he gives himself a much stronger chance here to get something going. This build of Dredge has Unmask to complement the Cabal Therapies, giving it a really heavy discard outlet. Other ways to configure the deck, are running cards like Mental Misstep, even Force of Will. You do have enough blue cards with the printing of Prized Amalgam. So you actually have Narcomoeba, Prized Amalgam, the Force of Wills, Mental Missteps if you have those as well. You can get a pretty heavy blue count, which is kind of surprising to some people, but that's just what happens when you're not playing a ton of lands. You really do have quite a lot of extra room in the deck. Those lands really, for the most part, just for your sideboard options, and those include cards like Ingot Chewer, which is very good with Bridge from Below. You're actually able to evoke Ingot Chewer and then respond with activating Bazaar to be dredging or discarding, and hopefully get some Bridge from Below into the graveyard before his second triggered ability, the Sacrifice, happens, and that can actually generate some zombie tokens, as well as handle problem artifacts, cards like Grafdigger's Cage in particular. That's probably the primary target for Ingot Chewer. But it can also hit cards like Nile's Spellbomb and Tormod's Crypt if necessary. So those cards, you very often just want to be forcing your opponents to crack them, just creating a graveyard that's just a little bit too much of a threat, where they have to use their artifact to get rid of it, and then you just rebuild as rapidly as possible. And it looks like Peter on the play here, opening with Ancient Tomb into Grim Monolith, into what I can assume is a proxy and a Mana Vault. So I'm thinking that's probably Mox Ruby. A Bazaar Baghdad on the other side of the table here. And it looks like Icarid, Bridge from Below, and do we have a Dredger yet? I do see Hollow One, Unmask, and Ingot Chewer, so a pretty reasonable start here. And he did have the PO. And it was stripped away. Looking at his line, I question whether or not he should have been able to fire off a first turn PO with that Spire of Industry. He may have been able to lead with that Mox into Mana Vault, into Grim Monolith, and then potentially be drawing 3 or 4 cards off that PO. That may have been the better line here. Might have underestimated just how fast Dredge can be. Icarid coming back, getting in there with the Hollow One, creating a ton of damage and getting Prized Amalgam, so this could be over in very short order. Voltaic Key on the other side for Peter threatens to make a lot of mana or combo with Time Vault if he can find it. But here it is, 12 damage coming in. Peter at just 1 life. Ancient Tomb offline. Got Grim Monolith. Goes to tap the Spire. Realizes he's at 1. Oh, and he had the Tinker. So literally just 1 point of life away here. Just brutal. Very, very close there. Just goes to show how powerful Paradoxical Outcome decks are. He's just that close with an incredible opening from Dredge. Just 1 point of life is the difference in that game. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.